Did you know that a single missile today can melt through 700 millimeters of steel in less than a second? Across Ukraine, Israel, and Eastern Europe, tank crews are discovering that survival isn't about firepower, it's about who adapts faster. From reactive armor to smart protection systems, the battlefield has turned into a war of sensors, steel, and speed. In this video, we'll uncover how the evolution of armor is shaping the next generation of combat. Stay until the end. Every detail reveals how modern armor decides life or death. If you love military insights and global defense strategy, give this video a like, subscribe, and share to support more analyses like this. The first time metal met blood, history changed forever. Imagine standing on a dusty plain more than 5,000 years ago, the sun burning through the haze, the air vibrating with the clash of bronze against bone. The first warriors didn't fight for empires or borders, they fought to survive. Their shields were not symbols of glory, but of instinct. Thin bronze discs, hammered by hand, heavy enough to deflect a spear, light enough to move with a heartbeat. And in those moments, the idea of armor was born. Bronze wasn't perfect. It bent, it cracked, it melted under the relentless sun, but it gave humanity a choice: to live one strike longer. The hoplites of Greece, the warriors of Mesopotamia, even the early tribes of India learned that survival could be forged. A shield wasn't just protection, it was intelligence made visible, the first technology of defense. Every blow against it was a conversation between invention and destruction. When I think about that era, I don't see faceless soldiers. I see individuals who felt the same fear every soldier feels today. The silence before impact, the trembling of their arms as the world tried to break through their defense. Bronze taught humanity its first lesson in strategy, that defense is not weakness, it's calculation. Those warriors built the foundation for every tank, every vest, every composite plate that came after. And as the centuries turned and the fires of battle spread across new lands, one truth became clear. Every victory built on armor was temporary. A sharper spear, a stronger bow, a deadlier idea was always waiting on the horizon. That's where the story of armor truly begins. Stay with me, because what came next transformed armor from mere protection into a symbol of power itself. The sound of hooves thundered across Europe. Iron had turned to steel, and for the first time, armor was no longer just survival, it was prestige. Picture a medieval knight, cloaked in shining metal, every plate forged by craftsmen whose work bordered on artistry. The sunlight caught on his breastplate like fire. This wasn't just protection, it was dominance you could wear. When that knight rode into battle, he wasn't only fighting for life, he was fighting to show whose armor gleamed brighter, whose steel changed everything. It was harder, stronger, and more reliable than bronze ever could be. But it came with a price: weight. Every layer of protection slowed a soldier down, and every inch of steel separated man from his instincts. Still, kingdoms invested everything into it because armor had become political. A king's army was judged by the shine of its metal. In Asia, the samurai perfected a different path: lighter armor built for precision and grace. In India, Mughal warriors combined steel with metal, and yet history always finds balance. The first muskets fired, and within decades, everything changed again. Lead bullets pierced through what once seemed invincible. The age of knights collapsed almost overnight. Steel armor, once the ultimate defense, became obsolete. It's strange to think about. Centuries of innovation undone by a few ounces of gunpowder. And this, to me, is the turning point where warfare stopped being about who had thicker armor and started being about who adapted faster. Every time humanity built a stronger wall, someone else built a sharper weapon. That endless chase between defense and offense is what makes the story of armor so human. So, when the echo of muskets faded and smoke cleared, a new sound took over. The grinding of gears, the roar of engines. The next generation of armor wouldn't ride on horseback anymore. It would roll on tracks. The world had never seen monsters like these before. It was the winter of 1916, and through the mud of the Somme, the first steel beasts crawled out of the smoke. They moved slowly, groaning, shaking, grinding through barbed wire and craters filled with water. Soldiers on both sides froze in disbelief. It was as if the earth itself had come alive, armored and angry. For the first time in history, armor didn't follow the soldier, it carried him. These new machines, the tanks, were born out of desperation, an answer to the slaughter of trench warfare. Steel walls replaced shields, engines replaced horses, and with that, warfare entered a new era. The land ships, as they were first called, were crude, riveted plates, slow engines, no suspension, but they changed everything. The battlefield, once ruled by rifles and artillery, now had a new king, the armored vehicle. The sound of tracks crushing the mud became the heartbeat of modern war. What fascinates me most is how quickly humanity learned to adapt this new idea. By the Second World War, tanks were no longer lumbering giants, but sleek predators. The Soviet T-34, with its sloped armor and speed, turned defense into motion. The American Sherman prioritized reliability, thousands produced, always ready. The German Tiger, thick-skinned and fearsome, became the embodiment of raw power. Each design reflected a nation's philosophy: mobility, mass, or might. But armor had to evolve faster than ever. Anti-tank guns grew stronger, shells hit harder, and aircraft brought death from above. The solution wasn't just thicker steel, it was smarter geometry. Sloped armor deflected shots instead of absorbing them, transforming the science of survival. It was the first time armor wasn't simply protection, it was strategy forged into metal. And that's what I find most human about this age, the ingenuity behind survival. Every engineer, every welder, every crew member inside those steel beasts was part of the same equation: how to live 1 second longer under fire. Tanks became moving fortresses, homes made of heat, oil, and fear. Yet inside that furnace of war, the bond between man and machine became something sacred. When you sit inside a tank, it's not just steel around you, it's history, sweat, and belief that armor can still save a life. But as the world learned soon after, even steel monsters have limits. The cannons got stronger, the missiles smarter, and the sky itself turned into a new kind of battlefield. The next evolution of armor wouldn't just be about endurance, it would be about fighting back. And that's exactly where the story leads next, to the age when armor learned to explode. By the middle of the 20th century, tanks had become both heroes and victims of their own design. Thicker armor meant more weight, slower movement, and bigger targets. Anti-tank weapons evolved faster. Recoilless rifles, shaped charges, and the first guided missiles turned even the strongest tank into a vulnerable giant. The battlefield had changed again, and defense needed to learn something new: how to fight back. Then came the breakthrough that flipped the logic of armor: explosive reactive armor, or ERA. Imagine this. A missile is flying at hundreds of meters per second, its shaped charge designed to punch through steel like butter. But just before it hits, the armor itself explodes outward. The blast disrupts the jet of molten metal, scattering its energy before it can penetrate the hull. For the first time in history, armor didn't just absorb the hit, it counterattacked. Defense had become offense. The first nation to weaponize this idea was Israel during the Cold War, when it faced waves of Soviet-made anti-tank weapons. Their Blazer ERA saved countless tanks from destruction. Soon after, the Soviet Union introduced Contact 5, a more advanced version that could even disrupt high-velocity kinetic rounds. Western tanks like the British Challenger and the American Abrams followed with Chobham armor, composite layers that blended ceramics, steel, and even secret materials designed to deflect energy in complex ways. What I find fascinating is how ERA changed the psychology of battle. For the first time, tank crews knew their armor could literally fight for them. It wasn't just a shell anymore, it was a partner. Every explosion on the surface meant another life saved inside. The battlefield became an orchestra of chain reactions: missiles striking, armor detonating, smoke billowing, and engines roaring back to life. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos, engineered survival. Yet, as with every advantage, there came a new problem. Modern threats began attacking from above. missiles diving onto thin roofs, drones dropping explosives with surgical precision. ERA, designed mostly for frontal assaults, could only do so much. The armor that learned to fight back now needed to learn how to think ahead. And that's where the story leads us next, to a future where armor doesn't just react, but predicts, where steel starts to see. For centuries, armor has been reactive, waiting for the strike, taking the blow, surviving through strength. But now, we've entered an age where armor doesn't just defend, it detects, it analyzes, it decides. Welcome to the age of smart armor, where steel has finally learned to see. The change began quietly. Engineers realized that no amount of thickness could save a tank from a missile that thinks. So they gave armor a brain, sensors, radar arrays, and onboard computers capable of tracking incoming threats in milliseconds. Systems like Israel's Trophy and Russia's Afghanet transformed tanks from passive fortresses into living organisms. They sense danger, rotate toward it, and fire interceptors that destroy missiles mid-air. Watching those systems in action feels like witnessing the moment machines developed reflexes, a survival instinct forged from code and steel. But it's not just tanks anymore. Body armor for soldiers has become smarter too. The newest combat vests use lightweight composites, ceramic plates, and even materials that can self-heal minor cracks. In laboratories across the United States and India, scientists are experimenting with graphene and nanomaterials, substances stronger than steel but lighter than water. The goal is no longer just protection. It's agility, awareness, and endurance. The future soldier might wear armor that monitors their heart rate, tracks nearby drones, and adapts its density depending on where the attack is coming from. Personally, I find this evolution both incredible and deeply human. Every leap in technology still comes from the same fear that's haunted warriors for 5,000 years, the fear of not coming home. Smart armor, no matter how advanced, is still about giving that soldier or that crew a second chance to live. It's empathy built into engineering. And as battlefields shift again, with drones overhead, hypersonic threats on the horizon, and AI controlling both attack and defense, armor is transforming from a wall into a network, a connected system where every tank, every soldier, and every sensor works as one breathing organism of survival. The line between man and machine is blurring, but maybe that's the point, to create something stronger than either one alone. Because in this new age, armor doesn't just protect life, it anticipates it. And in the next chapter of warfare, that awareness may be the only thing keeping humanity alive.
5,000 years of history, and the sound of metal striking metal still echoes across every battlefield. From the bronze shields of forgotten warriors to the invisible armor of today's tanks, humanity has never stopped chasing the same dream: to survive one hit longer. Every new weapon is answered by a new defense, every defense by an even deadlier weapon. It's a cycle as old as war itself, an eternal contest between destruction and endurance. Modern warfare has only made this struggle more complex. Drones hunt from above, hypersonic missiles tear through the sky, and artificial intelligence predicts movements before they even happen. Yet, despite all that technology, the philosophy of armor hasn't changed. It's still about trust. The trust a soldier has in the steel that shields him, the trust an engineer has in their creation, the trust a nation has in its ability to protect its own. Armor is no longer just metal. It's the sum of human determination. When I look at a tank scarred by battle or a bulletproof vest hanging in a soldier's locker, I don't see machines. I see memory. Every dent, every burn mark, every cracked plate tells a story of someone who lived because of it. That's the legacy of armor. Not invincibility, but survival. Because in war, perfection doesn't exist. There's only adaptation, the endless conversation between offense and defense, between fear and courage. And maybe that's what makes armor so powerful. It's more than protection. It's a reflection of who we are. Our creativity, our fear, our hope to outlast the chaos. From bronze to composite, from shields to smart sensors, every piece of armor humanity has built carries the same heartbeat, the will to endure. So as we stand on the edge of a new era where warfare happens in cyberspace, in orbit, and beyond, one truth remains unbroken. No matter how advanced our weapons become, we'll always need something to protect us. Because armor isn't just steel, it's the story of survival itself. If you found this journey through the evolution of armor inspiring, give this video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more stories of military history, technology, and the people behind the machines. Together, we'll keep exploring the art of defense and the humanity within it.